and welcome. I'm here with Rob again, and today we're going to actually talk about actual clairvoyance and what it is and how it comes to people. So Rob, the first question I have to ask you is, when you do clairvoyance, can you explain for our viewers what happens, what you experience, so that they can understand?
Yes, clairvoyance is quite difficult for people to do if they've never done it before. And it's to do with sensing, but you're sensing with your mind in a way that you don't normally sense, is the best way of putting it. So you can train to be clairvoyant, but the truth is, whether you've done it for 6 months or you've done it for 20 years, it's never an easy thing to do. The difficulty with clairvoyance, you sit in circle and you're learning to get closer to spirit. The problem is with clairvoyance, it's a thought coming into your mind, or it's a picture that you're seeing. And when you're seeing this picture, often you're not seeing a picture like, you're looking at a photo album and it's obvious to see. You are sensing it. So and also it can work in many different ways. It sounds like I'm making it very complicated, but it is complicated. So if someone comes around for a reading, or in church and you're giving someone a reading, so they're coming to you, and then it's whatever you sense. And what you're sensing is very gentle. Unfortunately, it doesn't come in a hurry, and you think, when you see someone working, you think, oh, they've got the gift of clairvoyance. Isn't it easy? It's never easy. It's never easy. And also, that what's taking place is you are picking up thoughts from the other side, or the person that is drawing close to you. And this isn't what you normally do in life. So someone will sit down in front of me for a reading, and then many different things may take place. The most common thing will take place, you'll have an image. Literally. Okay. So you may have an image of somebody, or you may have an image looking at the window of a kitchen. This is how it can come. And initially, once you've got that image, you're working from it. So you've got to have the courage to say, well, I'm looking at the kitchen, I can see a brick wall, I can see this. But the image isn't clear in your head. You're seeing the kitchen, you're looking at, and then you're sensing all the other bits that you're talking about. Okay. Then the flow comes out. And then if they can accept that, then something else, you may see someone there, or you may, whatever. So one thing leads to another. Sometimes they come for a reading and you can see someone standing next to them. But you have to clarify seeing again. You say you're seeing someone next one, and there is somebody next to them, and you're sensing them. You may just see an outline, and this is in your head. It's not with your eyes again in nearly all cases. Right. So you're seeing this image of someone there, and then you can start sensing their character, how strong they were, whether they're using a walking stick. This is, you are sensing with your mind. The image is there. The image is the person. So they come for a reading, it may be their father, their grandfather, whoever it is. So the reason why it then gets complicated, if you like, you have the character of the grandfather, okay? Right. He could be a very nice chap, he could have been awkward, he may have, no, I don't believe in this sort of thing whatsoever. And if he didn't, it can be more difficult for him to draw close, if you see what I mean. You've then got the medium who's got to interpret it, and then you've got the character of the person who's got to accept it. So sometimes you can sense something from it, and you say, oh, well, I can sense. And then you might sense something as simple as Brussels sprouts. And you think, what's it got to do with anything? So you're sitting here as a medium and you're sensing, and you get Brussels sprouts. And this happened the other day with someone in a local church. And as a medium, you're thinking, well, I can't give that. What a load of tripe, everything else. So then you have to have the courage with whatever you're sensing to say it. And with that particular lady, I said, your father's here, he's mentioned Brussels sprouts. And she absolutely burst out laughing. And me as the medium thinking, what is the matter with you, if you see what I mean? But the point is, as a child, they hated Brussels sprouts. And when they had their Sunday roast, all the 3 children used to leave the Brussels sprouts. So it was a family joke, if you see what I mean. So when you're doing the clairvoyance and you're sensing these things, initially it's difficult when you're training to do clairvoyance, because you think you must understand every single thing. Right. But you've got to have the courage to sense something and then pass it on. And that is what you're trying to do. So sometimes images come to you and you interpret the image, sometimes there's a person there. But the annoying thing about clairvoyance, if I can put it that way, I've done it for a long time, is you can't prepare beforehand. You may beforehand get an image of someone, but you don't know who you're going to or anything else. And then it's often, like I say, it's the little things. So you're talking to someone, and what you're really trying to do with clairvoyance is prove the person on the other side who they are, and then pass the message on. That's the whole purpose of the clairvoyance, to do it. And it's the little things. You're chatting to someone and you're giving them a message. And then another one, the other day someone said, "Oh, Heather." But the problem is, as the medium, you've got to try and not put your thoughts into it. And that's when it gets difficult, because you suddenly give them the word Heather. And I'm thinking, oh, maybe it's Scotland, Heather in Scotland, everything. But that's my mind has worked into it,
right,
which you don't want to do. So with that thought in mind, I mentioned Heather to them, and I didn't interpret it. Excuse me. They were amazed, because just before they walked into where we were doing this in a local church, she had just texted her friend called Heather.
Oh, so
do you see what I mean?
It's so easy to get into trouble, right? If you start trying to interpret it.
Yeah. So when something comes to you, you've got to try and give it as it is. And sometimes you'll have to interpret it a bit more if they don't understand it. And then you keep sensing the same thing, so you're trying to pass it on because they're pushing it to you. That's what normally happens with clairvoyance. Sometimes someone draws so close to you, they are standing next to you, and it is so easy to pass a message on it's not true. They're almost saying, say that, say that, say that.
Right.
But if that happened like that all the time, it'd be so easy doing that. That's more the rarity, if you see what I mean. So literally, it's what you're sensing, but at the same time, you've got to get your mind focused that you are not presuming it's this or presuming it that. And you have to keep in mind, you have all these different clairvoyants out there, but the idea is you prove who it is, and then they pass on a message to them. They are not going to tell them what to do with their lives.
Right.
Okay. They are not going to tell them what the future are. And if you have a medium doing that, they shouldn't be doing it.
Right. Okay.
They may come through and say, you're thinking of doing something, I think you should do it. That's okay. You can do that sort of thing. But if someone's coming through and they say, you go to a medium and say, something bad's going to happen in a year's time, that's not right, and you don't pass that message on, and normally you wouldn't pick it up. So you do have to use your mind. And I can remember situations when you're giving a clairvoyance, when you've got a group of people in front of you, like in a church situation, and sometimes I can remember there you had a group of people here that knew the group of people there, and bless them, they didn't like each other, and you pick that up straight away. So you've got to be careful what you're doing sometimes with it. You've got to engage your brain.
Your brain at some point, absolutely.
As to how much you can say. And the other one, which can be funny, and when you've got a character coming through on the other side, how they used to talk when they're on the earth plane when you're giving a reading is often how they come through and talk.
Is it because so that they can be recognised? Is that
as they draw close, the earth memories come back to them, so they're more that way, and it is to be recognised. If they talk in a funny way, that's fine. But you can imagine some people on the other side, you're giving a reading, and they can be swearing. Okay, so there's certain things you interpret and say that he's quite a colourful way how he talks with his words, and they'll burst out, and that's fine.
That would be understood.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah. So a medium does have to be careful what they do, but as I mentioned at the start of it, most of the time with Claire, it's very, very gentle how it's coming through, which is why it can be so difficult to pass it on.
Right, and Rob, so you predominantly see in a way, and you hear in a way. Do you? Because I know that I'm saying this for people who may have sensitivities who are watching. Do you ever smell scent like some people do?
No. Mediums work differently. You have clairsentience, which is sensing things, clairaudience, which is hearing things. But sometimes it's very difficult to say, I can do this, I can do this, if you see what I mean. And it's like hearing things. When it's like I said, I heard the word Heather. It's not normally hearing with our ears.
Right.
This is the difficulty of it. So you could say that's clairsentience, but you're concentrating and suddenly you hear Heather. Or the word Heather comes straight into your mind. Are you hearing it, or is it your mind? It's probably your mind. But it doesn't really matter at the end of the day.
Right.
The point is you got that one word and you passed it on, and it makes sense to that person. So most of it is clairsentience, which is sensing things, but clairvoyance covers it all, and it's difficult to separate them. And also when you're a medium and you're in the flow, you're not really concentrating totally on how it's coming in. You're in the flow and you just want to get on with it.
Right. Now, if somebody is like watching and they really are interested in clairvoyance, if they have no ability, can they learn it?
I think you'll find that anybody can learn clairvoyance. Anybody can. The difficulty with this sort of thing is you've got to open your mind up in the first place to the possibility that you can do it. So there are thousands and thousands of mediums out there, so it does take place. Clairvoyance is happening all the time. But if you're someone who I don't believe in that sort of thing whatsoever, no, it doesn't exist, doesn't it? You have just shut yourself down. There's no way you're going to be clairvoyant. You're not going to open your mind up to it. And you can have the opposite thing, where someone is so sensitive, they're sensing, I don't know what that is, I'm sensing it. And that sort of person would be difficult to train because you've got to calm them down.
Right, so just having the ability to sense in itself is not everything.
No, it's not.
You have to be very grounded.
You have to be very grounded. Right. And some of the best mediums out there are ones that didn't know they were highly sensitive. So they picked it up very slowly, they had an open mind, they sat in circle, and they're more solid, more secure, if you mean, with doing it, because they learnt slowly and they learnt in that way, and that can be the best way of doing it.
Right, and just we're running out of time here, but you've been clairvoyant obviously from very young. How has your clairvoyance changed through the years?
I think when I was very young, various odd things happened to me that I was sensing things, but I didn't really classify as my clairvoyant. When I look back now, I was being clairvoyant. And I also didn't really want to do it. to be honest, I know, I didn't want to do it, but eventually after sitting in Betty's circle for 20 years, I was more interested in healing and that side of things. I had no problem with that. I wasn't interested in clairvoyance. But clairvoyance is a form of healing.
Right.
Someone's lost their loved one and the loved one comes through and say, I'm absolutely fine, I love you. That person can then get on with their lives. Very short way of putting it, but it's that. So it is a form of healing.
Right. Okay, and I'm afraid we are out of time. So much information to discuss here. We'd love to get your comments again. Please let us know. We'll see you next time. Bye.